What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Adam. I'm just doing a morning update. I just got done with a Zoom call that I'm doing every week. I have a lot of stuff on my plate. Um, I really, really hope that this apartment that I'm trying to get into works out. I'm not going to get upset. I'm not going to throw a fit. I'm not going to be mad about it if it doesn't. Um, but it would feel really good. I know that, like, just it would. Oh, I already can put myself in that place and just be like, oh wow, I'm in a real home, a real home. Um, None of the other places I've looked at so far did that to me. I got my background check back from DoorDash, um, but they haven't made their decision yet. I know what the way that the background check is structured. It's like 10 pages long because they have every single count of the charges I pled guilty to in this report. So it makes it look horrible. The other background checks I've seen from the other jobs, it literally just shows the charges. Like it's very short and sweet. Um, but this one took it and made it into this mountain. So yeah, I'm gonna get a message back here saying no, you can't pick up a bag of food and take it to someone's house. It'll be 5 days from now or something like that. I'm not worried about it. I was just looking at it as an option because you can turn it out. You can work whenever you want. And so if I needed to make a little bit of extra cash, or if I needed to make the probation officer get off my ass or whatever, I could go ride my bicycle and get paid. Basically, it's an Alleycat race that you get paid for when you do it by bicycle. And the way that they do it when you're on a bicycle, they're only going to let you take jobs that are within a certain mileage radius. I think it's like 5 miles from the pickup point to the delivery point is the max. So, I mean, that's a 15-minute bicycle ride. So, if I can, I don't know how much you make for a DoorDash delivery, and on a bicycle you end up with more because you aren't paying for gasoline, and wear and tear and stuff on your car. There's wear and tear on the bicycle, but it's cheaper. I'm replacing my entire drivetrain on my bicycle for about $200, give or take. I don't know exactly what it's costing because if you watched previous videos, you'll I'm sending 3 chain rings back to Amazon, because I've been buying and I bought so many chain rings that I finally the ones there's 2 coming today. One of them are going to be the one I keep. I think I'm going to have it set up so that I have the maximum gear range possible on my it's not the maximum possible gear range, but a 53 tooth front chain ring is big. And I'm telling you, on this Red Rocket bicycle that I ride, the biggest gear, I'm going to have an 11 to 20. I can't remember the biggest sprocket on the rear wheel, but the smallest will be an 11 tooth, which is small. But it's a wide gearing range on the back. It's either the same as what I already have, or maybe even a wider range. I'm not sure, but it's a good range. And combined with, so what I want to do on the front crankset, I want to make sure that there's a big enough jump between the 2 chain rings that I get the maximum amount of gear range possible with, it's an 8-speed rear and a 2-speed front. So that's 16 gears that I have. And I want to make sure that when I'm in the small chain ring, I get the smallest possible gear for going up hills. The 53 tooth and 11 tooth in the front, that's such a big gear that if I was going downhill on a mountain, I wouldn't be going fast enough to spin out the gear and stop putting pressure on the pedals. because eventually you get pedaling so fast in a gear that you can't even keep up with the speed that you would need to pedal to continue putting power into the wheels. The gear I have, the biggest gear on my bike as it is currently, I never use it. Not in Houston. I've never shifted into that gear since I've been here, unless it was just to test out the bike or to make sure everything's working properly. Because the gear is so big that even going on a downhill ride, even if it was a mountain downhill, 20 minutes going down an entire mountain on a steep slope, I would not spin that gear out. I would still be able to put power into the wheels at a speed. I would probably have to go 75 miles an hour before I would be unable to pedal in that big gear. So I'm fine with the big. I could go with a bigger chain ring on the front. They can go up and up and up from 50, but 53 teeth is a big one. And it's not the biggest, but it's big enough. And so I'm hoping that the 39 or the 30, yeah, I'm going with a 39 small ring. That'll give me 38's the smallest I can go, but I decided to go one up from there just to make sure that I wouldn't have clearance issues, and I didn't want things to get too tight and have problems where I have to send back another chain ring. I already have a 42, and I don't feel like it gives me every gear feels big. Even when I'm in the smallest gear possible, it feels like it's a big gear. So going down a half step from that will help on hill climbs with that bike. And so here in Houston, I never use the smallest gear. But it'll give me a much bigger range, and that'll be good. But yeah, DoorDash, I don't know. I don't know how much you make for a delivery. I don't know if it's $5 you end up with or $10 that you end up with in your pocket, without a tip. If you plan, I don't know how much you make. I assume I could do 3 deliveries an hour on a bicycle if they're within that range. I don't even know what 3 deliveries per hour might be. If I could do, if you get $10 for a delivery and you can do 3 an hour, $30 an hour is not bad at all for riding a bike all day. If I did that for 8 hours, $240 deposited in my bank account right away, or however long it takes, just for riding my bicycle and getting miles. That's not a bad deal. Getting paid to ride a bike, not a bad deal at all. But I've seen people doing it on YouTube. I've looked into it. My original thought, way years ago before the arrest, was to have a way to make some money when I travel. So I wanted to travel. I worked from home. I was really starting to take advantage of that, but I had an office at home, and I was comfortable working in my office from home. Then I got a job with another company where my job was basically, honestly, my job was sitting in meetings, getting people to do things. I didn't do any design work. I didn't write any code. I literally sat in meetings all the time, and it was just like, it was a political job inside of a company. If anything, I would prepare idea boards. I would map things out. I would diagram things. I'd facilitate communication between groups of people to try and get things done. And I could do that with a laptop. And I used to sit at a desk in my sunroom and watch the animals all day. And so this job opened up the opportunity for me because I didn't need a command center's worth of screens in front of me to do that job. I just needed one laptop. And I started to think, I want to travel more. I want to be able to go on a trip where I disappear for a month and go on a photography road trip that lasts more than a couple of weeks. I want to travel for like 1 to 3 months and just live on the road, live at a campsite, live out of my truck. And so I was coming up with ways to do it effectively. Um, and to be able to work and actually do work, having a mobile Starlink internet connection, whatever. I was looking into all these different options, and one of the things I thought of was DoorDash could be a way to make a little extra money when I travel on top of my full time job. Um, or at the time I was thinking about doing it, I didn't have a job. And so I felt like I wanted to do DoorDash with a car just to make some money while I was unemployed. But um, when I saw that they allowed you to do it by bicycle, I'm like, I could travel someplace. I could be in a city and I could just do a few DoorDash orders here and there, or just kind of pick a day to DoorDash day and go out and ride and make a couple $100 and put that in the bank and be able to use that for gas and food and pay for my trip. Um, and get exercise and everything that goes with it. And if I'm on my bicycle carrying a couple of cameras with me, I could utilize, like, take a break from DoorDash and stop and take some after I deliver some food, finish an order. Am I near some place that's worth stopping to take a photo for? You know what I mean? And just kind of balance out doing photography and delivering food on the same bike at the same time. So it was just an idea. And now it's, like I said, it's just an idea. There are different places that I go. Where I live is a place full of restaurants. And like there's tons of them right here where I live. And I'm assuming that the bicycle DoorDash would be fine to do here. I could go 15 miles south and be in Houston, in a neighborhood of Houston, close to, where in the city you can get around faster on a bicycle. In the inner cities, it's faster than driving to ride a bike a lot of times. I don't know about Houston yet, because Houston's a driving city. Everything is designed for people to drive. But there's a possibility that it could be faster to get around downtown Houston on a bike. I don't know though. But it's just one of these things that I thought of. It would give me a little more freedom. And it would be the kind of thing that you like a DoorDash driver. There's some DoorDash drivers that we like at the bakery. They're friends of the bakery. We give them free cookies when they come in because they're friendly. They're awesome people. Not everybody that DoorDashes is an asshole, but a lot of them are. A lot of them are really shitty to us. But there are a handful of them that are really nice, really cool people. They come in regularly. We like them. Here's a free cookie. That kind of stuff. We're like, we like you people. If you treat us good, we treat you good. And this one woman was talking about how Sunday is her busiest day. She's like, oh man, you guys should be open on Sunday. People would be, we're not open on Sunday. It's like Chick-fil-A's not open on Sunday. And it's fine for us. Like nobody's complaining about that. But she said that you guys would do tons of business. She said for DoorDash, she says it's the busiest day of the week is Sunday. So on a Sunday, I could go to church. I'll ride my bike to church somewhere, right? And a church that's close to a bunch of restaurants. And after church, I could go deliver a bunch of food for a number of hours and make a bunch of money, come home and relax. Go to the bakery the next day. It could replace doing the bakery if it made enough money. But, it doesn't make sense for me to talk about it anymore because I don't think they're going to let me do it. So, if they do, it'll be an absolute miracle. It'll be an absolute miracle if they let me do it. But I saw the background report, whatever, it's done. There's nothing I can do at this point. I'm not going to be terribly upset if they say no. I'm just going to chalk it off as another rejection. Um, they also had a speeding ticket on my record, but it was only 5 miles an hour over the limit. So it wasn't a bad mark, um, in terms of, and I'm not driving a car for DoorDash, so, I specifically applied to be a bicycle driver. And, but it would be cool. And Alleycat races are fun as hell. It's my favorite type of bike race. Um, I went the last time I was in an Alleycat race. It's hysterical. I was dating this girl. Her family rented a beach house in Erie, PA. And so we went up to the beach house for the weekend to hang out with her family. It was a big beach house with all these different bedrooms and whatnot. Beach is on Lake Erie. Um, and so it was like Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning. We brought our bicycles and we decided to go on a bike ride. And we were just going to go on a little cruise around town. And we rode maybe a mile away from the beach house. And we get to this park, and there's a table set up in the park, and there's like 50 people on bicycles hanging out at this table. And I'm like, something's going on here. Let's find out. We get up to the table. They're like, oh, we're having an Alleycat race today. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And it was like a bicycle festival going on, and it was like the last weekend of the bicycle festival, and they were having this Alleycat race, but it was like a community Alleycat race. It was like all kinds of people from all walks of life. And this girl and I, we looked at each other. She's like, you want to do it, don't you? And I'm like, of course. She's like, yeah, let's do this. Let's do it. She was pretty adventurous. And so I looked at her and I'm like, you're not going to get mad if I actually want to do this, right? Which means I'm going to leave you in the dust and you can fend for yourself, but I'm out. as soon as that starter whistle, or as soon as the race starts, you're never going to see me again. You know this, right? She's like, do what you do. She's like, Adam, you just do what you do. I'll find a group of nice old ladies to ride around with or something. I'll go my own speed. I'll make some friends. You don't worry about it, Adam. You go do you. You go race. You go win yourself a prize. I was like, all right, we're doing it. So we signed up for this thing. And the way an Alleycat race works, I could give you 10 different stories on how an Alleycat race works, because they can be very different from each other. But the premise is you get a list of checkpoints, and you're handed the list of checkpoints before the race starts. On a list, checkpoint 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. You can go to the checkpoints in any order that you want. There's no requirement they have to be done in a certain order. I'll take that back. There could be a Alleycat race that has a specific order. Or you have to do something before you do something else. It might be to throw a wrench in the mix. But typically you go in any order you want. Your job is to know the terrain. See, the Alleycat race is cool because it's an equalizer. Somebody who's not in good shape can beat people that are in really good shape, because if you know how to get around town better than they do, you're going to beat them. Because it's about navigation skills and fitness. So it's a cool thing. There's a lot of factors that come into play. So for me, anyway, I'll get to the end in a minute, but Erie, PA, I'm familiar with, but I don't know where all the nooks and crannies are, and I don't know. We had this list of checkpoints, but they were clues as to what the checkpoints would be. And you would have to read a clue and then know what the checkpoint is. So I'm like, I have no idea where any of this shit is. Some were easy to figure out. Some of them I had to sit there, because you get about half an hour to an hour before the race starts to sit around and go through the thing and try and So I'm plotting out a course on Google Maps because that's all I had. I didn't have, like, usually I come to a checkpoint race prepared with a laminated map that I can write on with a magic marker or something like that. And if it's in Pittsburgh, I know my way around. I know where shit is. I don't need to, like, if you got a list of 10 checkpoints in Pittsburgh, I would know where all of them are. I would probably, and I would be able to, all I would do is be putting dots on a map and kind of thinking about strategically how am I going to get to each one. But I'm not going to be plotting out a GPS route or anything like that. I'm putting the dots on the map just so I can see what order would be the best order to do it in. Clockwise, counterclockwise, a 5-point start, like however it makes sense to go through the whole thing. Because part of this in Pittsburgh is the hills. So on the map, it might say 2 checkpoints are 2 miles apart. But if you take the flat way to get from one checkpoint to the other, it might be 5 miles. Because of the steepness of some of these hills, the 5-mile route is probably better than the 3-mile route or the 2-mile route. Because the 2-mile route might take 10 to 15 minutes to get to the top of the hill. And then down the other side to the checkpoint, where the flat 5-mile route might take 15 minutes total to get there. So you have to really know your way around. And that was my disadvantage on this race in Erie. I'm having a hard time finding the checkpoints to begin with, but all I had was my Google Maps. So I'm putting them on the map and I'm looking at it. But there were some I couldn't figure out. So, like, part of the strategies, sweet talking people, I was going up to, like, nice looking people, like old ladies and stuff. I'm like, so where would this thing be? I'm not even from here. I just came up from Pittsburgh today. I don't know where this is. Or there'd be like a middle-aged guy with his kids doing the race. And I'd be like, where's this thing at? I'm like, and he might just tell me. Or I'll be listening to people in the background, right? People behind me having a conversation about a checkpoint. One of the clues, they're like, oh, I think it's in front of that stadium down there. And I'd be like, oh, is it? And I'd mark it on the map. And then during the race, you can follow people. You can get yourself into a group of people that are going fast and just ride with them. Figure out who the fastest people are in the race and stay with them. You're all going to be getting to the checkpoint at the same time. And that's going to, like, how fast the person can punch the holes in the card with the hole punch. Or whatever they're doing to mark that you went there. Sometimes they have a different stamp for each checkpoint. There's always going to be a way to prove that you made it to each checkpoint, and they can verify this at the finish line. In this case, each hole punch had a different shape. I had all the shapes from the Lucky Charms box. The yellow moons, the green clover, the purple horseshoe, all that. But it was a hole punch. And so each punch on your punch card would have to have the right shape of the hole punch. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I started out with the strategy of, I did generally have an idea of where to go, but I'm kind of flying blind. And so I started out with the fastest group of riders. And I had my phone mounted to my handlebars, but it was a mount that wasn't very good. And I hit a bump on a bridge, and my phone went flying off of my bike, like 30 feet up in the air. And then it landed glass down in the road, and I'm like, shit! Game over. Wah, wah. It's over. But it was a really rugged phone, and when I picked it up off the ground, it had some scrapes, but it was fine. It was like the phone didn't give a shit. Map was still up on the screen and everything, and I'm like... But I had no way now to mount it to my handlebars securely, so I had to keep it in like a pocket. I don't even know. Like, I don't know what I did. I put it in a pocket in my backpack, so I no longer have the map. I would have to look at the map and guess where to go and kind of remember directions. Turn left on here, turn right on there, da-da-da-da-da. And I constantly had to get off the bike and check the map. Or another technique is when you're doing an Alleycat like this, especially when there's 100 people doing the race, you're going to see bicyclists all over the fucking place, and you're going to know. you're going to know which ones are in the Alleycat race because they have a certain look about them and they're riding a certain way and they're looking, and you can tell. And I'm be like, so as you're getting close to a checkpoint, you're going to see other people on bikes and you're going to be like, oh, follow them. And you follow them and you get to the checkpoint, you get your hole punched, and then you sweet talk people. You'd be like, where are you going next? Oh, I'll follow you and we'll hang out and we'll whatever. And then so anyway, I went as fast as I could, but I had all these problems, navigation problems and whatnot. But after all 10 checkpoints were reached, I go back to the finish line, and I was in like 15th place. I don't know. I don't think I was in the top 10, but I was in the top half, way in the top half. If I actually knew my way around town and had a proper map and a proper phone mount, if I had the phone mount on my bike that I have now, that would have been a game changer right there, because I would have been able to have Google Maps in front of me the whole time. And just, I would have been able to know exactly where I am, where the checkpoint is. I wouldn't even need to GPS it. I would just be able to navigate using an open map. It would have been dope. That would have been slick. That would have actually got me in the top 10 possibly. Because that phone isn't, I could be in a 50-mile-an-hour crash and that phone won't come unhooked from my handlebars. So that would have been dope. But at the time, I just didn't have that. And so anyway, I get to the finish line, and when you get to the finish line, they hand you a bunch of circus tickets, and you go to a beer tent. You get all this free beer and some free food and all this other stuff to go along with your entry fee. You get a bag of goodies, like a bag of gifts or something, and there's this like pavilion that was set up just for the bike racers with tables and chairs and an awning with the solar, to block the sun and whatnot. And I'm just like, all right. And so I'm just chilling for like an hour. And the girl shows up, and she's got a whole posse with her. She's got like 6 or 7 other girls. They all show up together on their bikes, and they're like, oh, you meet, she's like, hey, how'd it go? Blah, blah, blah. And she was like, here's all my friends. She introduced me to all these girls that she basically, like she said, she found a group of girls that were just there to go on a cruise. And she said they took their time. They found every checkpoint, but they stayed as a group. And they waited for each other every time they got their holes punched. They decided to do a group ride together and go around town and fuck around and see everything. And so it was actually, so like after the fact, we hung out for the whole afternoon. There were bands on a stage in the park. There was like a whole festival going on, and there was like an art show and a craft market, and it was just like this whole thing going on all day long. And I'm going to say around, maybe an hour or two before the sunset, we decided to hop on our bikes and go back to the beach house so we could see the sunset and go swimming and do some stuff like that. And yeah, we get back to the beach house, and she walks in the door. She's like, I just did a bike race. And she was all like, I just did a bike race. I just raced in a bike race, and like blah, blah, blah. And then there was somebody else at the beach house who is a cyclist, turns around and goes, there was a bike race? Where was that? Because she had her bike there, and she had a really nice triathlon bike at the beach house, and she went on her own ride that day, and we went on our way, but she didn't want to ride with us because we were going to be too slow. And then we come back, we're like, we were in a bike race. Adam got like 15th place or something. I don't know what place I got. I know it couldn't have been top 10. I would like to, but it was in the top half, up in the high end of the top half. Out of like 100 people, it wouldn't have been any more than 20th. But it was because my speed was good. I was fast. My problem was navigation and the fact I didn't have a map and the fact I didn't know where anything was. And, I was just winging it the whole time and using all of the tricks of the trade. But as an example, Alleycat races, one of my favorites, it was for the food bank in Pittsburgh. you showed up at the race, they gave you a list of every giant eagle in Pittsburgh. Or no, there was a list of not, well, it pretty much was every giant eagle grocery store in the city of Pittsburgh. There were like 20 locations of Giant Eagle listed on this manifest. You had to go to 6. And then there was a list that you were handed of items that you could buy. And so so you got a list of grocery stores and a list of items. You had to go to 6 of these grocery stores, buy one item at each grocery store, and then return to the finish line, which was someone's backyard, and donate all the food that you just bought to the food bank. And then the receipts were your proof of that you went to each store and you bought one item on the list. But strategically, a 5-pound bag of rice is going to be 5 pounds in your bag, right? A thing of ramen noodles is going to be a certain weight. Laundry detergent is going to be really heavy. Like, all the different items had different weights. They have different locations in the store. Some of them are right up front. Some of them are all the way in the back of the store. The fact that they gave you a list of 20 different grocery stores to choose from made it even more complex, because now you're just like, in your mind, you don't even know which grocery stores are the best ones to choose. And it was hilarious. It was so freaking hilarious, this race. That was my favorite one. I was in first place at some point based on, because we all everybody in this race knows the city like the back of their hand. So I had already chosen my 6 giant eagles. And so I knew exactly where I was going, and the north side one was the closest. I started there. I was in and out with my shit in lickety. Was it the north side one, the first one? Had to be. Yeah, the north side one was my first one. Lickety split. I'm in and out. Out the door. I got a can of tuna. Because the weight of the items is a deal. So a can of tuna, 1 can of tuna, boom, throw it in the bag. You're good. 5-pound bag of rice or a can of tuna, go with the tuna. You know what I'm saying? So that cross one off. You can't get the same item twice. You had to get a different item next time. So then there was a giant eagle somewhere off of Route 28, which is a main. Basically, I got on a interstate highway and rode down to a bridge and scooted off of the bridge to get down to where the next grocery store was. And then I found out I was one of like 8 people that did that. Because we all knew that was the fastest way to go. Get on the interstate and go down. Hope the cops don't find out and get off on the bridge. And that's going to save you 10 minutes to get to the next spot. Got like some other thing I got in and out of the store. Then I had to go to a giant eagle in the middle of the ghetto. And that's where chaos began. I go running in. I grab like a bag of chips. I don't know. It was something light. Bag of chips. And I go to the express line. And there's only 2 people in front of me. But all the other cashiers have a line of people with shopping carts. Here's another factor that plays into this race. All the way down every single cashier has a line of at least 3 shopping carts. So couple of the other racers, they look at me in the express lane and they look at the shopping cart lane and they get in the shopping cart lane. I'm like, yes. Well, the person in front of the person who was already paying got into an argument with it's the ghetto. It's literally the fucking ghetto. The lady and two people in front of me gets in an argument with the cashier. The cashier's got to pick up the phone. The manager's got to come over. They're going at it for like 5 to 10 minutes. I'm like, holy shit, what's going? Now all of a sudden, the people that are waiting in the big line with the shopping carts are 1 shopping cart closer to getting out of there. And I'm like, but okay, this is wrapping up soon. This lady in front of me, she's got a bag of potato chips. A small bag of potato chips. That's all this will be quick. So the one lady leaves. The argument's over. Everything's settled. Now the old lady in front of me paying for a 50-cent bag of potato chips. I'm like, okay, we're good. The lady, the cashier rings her up, and all of a sudden this crippled old lady starts reaching into her purse, fiddling around with her purse. She pulls out a fucking checkbook. She opens up her fucking checkbook, and she's gonna try and pay with a fucking check, a personal check, to buy a 50-cent bag of potato chips. And I'm like, oh my God. No, because now they're going to have to scan this check, and she's going to have to dig around for her driver's license and everything. And I'm watching this old lady starting to write out a check, and I'm looking at the clock. All of a sudden, next shopping cart is gone, and all of the people in the race are now one shopping cart away from checking out. And I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. They knew they made the right choice, and I don't know how they knew this, but and we're all looking at each other and we're laughing our asses off. They're looking at me and they're like, because they know I'm still stuck there in the express lane trying to buy one fucking thing. And so finally I'm like, lady, I'm just going to pay for this. I'm going to do you a favor here. I give the cashier the 50 cents or whatever the fuck it was, and she's like, thank you so much, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's great. Now get the fuck out of here. And so now it's my turn, and I'm looking. Now the other people are paying for their shit. And I'm stuck paying for mine, and the cashier rings up the thing that I bought, and she scans it like 3 times, and the price isn't coming up. I'm like, fuck! Get the fuck out of here. And so now she's got to pick up the phone and call the manager over, and the manager's looking at the thing. Do you know how much this was? And now the manager's got to go back to the fucking aisle and get the price of whatever the fuck it was and come back up and tell her to manually enter it. And I'm like, I can go get something else. But I'm like, now I'm stuck at the fucking express lane, and all the other racers, they go running out the door. They're like, fuck you, aha! And they're just like, bye! And I'm still stuck at the express lane trying to pay for this shit. And so finally I get it paid for, and I get it thrown in my bag, and I get out and I get back on my bike, and everybody else that was in the crowd that I'm riding with are gone. Gone. And I get back on my bike, and I'm like, I still got a chance. And I hammer down. I throw down hard because I have a chance to win this fucking race. I was doing really well up to that point. And I hit, so that was like checkpoint number 3. I had 3 more to go. They were all smooth, boom, 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 done. And then I beeline back to the yard. I ended up 6th place. 6th place. I would have won that motherfucking race if it weren't for the fact that I chose the express lane at the most ghetto-ass grocery store in the whole city of Pittsburgh. I got 6th place because at the ghetto grocery store, I got held up in the express lane for 20 fucking minutes trying to pay for a fucking bag of rice or something. I don't even know what it was. I can't remember all the things that were on this list: a bag of pasta, a box of cereal, whatever it was. But at the end of the day, there were close to like 80 people in this bike race. And at the end of the day, we had this table in this backyard just covered in food. Because you got 80 people buying 6 things on a list. This table was covered. There was close to $1,000 worth of donations going to the food bank that day. And I thought that was really fucking cool that somebody did that and turned it into an Alleycat race. And we had this big barbecue, and there was, a Pabst Blue Ribbon is the official beer of Alleycat racing. So all the Pabst Blue Ribbon that you could drink, and all the food and the barbecue and getting to meet people and hang out, make friends. And I did make a lot of, doing the Alleycat races, I made a lot of really cool friends, cycling buddies back then. It wasn't until I got out of biking for a while that those friendships kind of faded out. People go their separate ways and whatnot. But I did have a lot of cool friends to go biking with for a period of time when I was doing it all the time. And that was like I would say I was in my late 20s. Somewhere in my 30s, I stopped biking for about 5 years straight. And that's when I kind of just flaked out of all the different bicycle clubs and stuff, and stopped going on the group rides and whatnot. It was when my son was born. It was after my son was born. I was focused on taking care of him for about 5 years before I could really start doing stuff like that again. And I just fell off the face of the earth in terms of cycling and different things like that. So, but the Alleycat checkpoint race is DoorDash. It's literally DoorDash is an Alleycat race. And so that's why I wanted to do DoorDash, because I thought it would be cool to just get on a bike and do a checkpoint Alleycat race. And in a city where I don't know my way around, doing something like that is honestly one of the best ways to get to know how to get around town, because you're going to have to go to random places that you don't know, and you're going to have to go from point A to B. But just imagine what my GPS map is going to look like if I turn on my GPS before I leave the house and I just set it to record until I get home. It's going to be a bird's nest of crazy shit all day long, zipping around town, going this way, going that way. And then when I sit down and look at it on a map, in my mind, I'm going to connect all the dots, the landmarks, the different ways the streets connect. And I'm going to see, oh, that street goes down there and I could have went that way and it would have saved me some time. Or there's a shortcut here and there's a back thing here. Like the other day, I was riding along and Google will give you bad directions, especially on a bicycle. And Google told me to keep going straight, and I'm looking around and I'm like, fuck, I'm in a suburban cul-de-sac with no way to get out. But I noticed there was a little sidewalk over here, and I'm like, where does that go? And then there's a little bridge over this creek, and then you're in a high school parking lot. And I'm like, oh, perfect. So I found a little shortcut, something I didn't know about, to get from one point to another. Instead of having to turn around and go through the suburban cul-de-sac and try to find my way out of that maze and find a way back to where I need to go, I found this little footbridge going over this creek, and I could ride across that, end up in a high school parking lot. And then I found out that there's an actual gate that goes across this parking lot. But when I was coming back, it was getting to be dark. It was starting to become, the sun was going down. But on my way back, I get to it and I'm like, ooh, thank God the gate's still open, because that would have screwed me pretty hard. But as long as that gate is open at that high school parking lot, you can zip through that parking lot, go across the footbridge, go down through the cul-de-sac, and save yourself a few minutes. So that's the kind of stuff that you learn if you do Alleycat races, or if I signed up for DoorDash in a different, in some neighborhoods, I'd basically know my way around all these different neighborhoods all of a sudden. Because when you're on a bicycle, you pay more attention to these things and the street layouts and what street goes where, and where you end up getting a higher sense of direction and being better at navigating when you're, even by car. I've ridden all over the city of Pittsburgh on a bicycle, literally probably every street in the entire city at one point on my bike. There was hardly any place I could go right now on a bicycle and say I've never been there on a bike. And then if you combine biking and driving together, I really can't think of any place in Pittsburgh I've never been. I lived there for almost 30 years and I was out and about all the time. Buying stuff on Craigslist from some random person in this random neighborhood will teach you, it was rare, but every now and then I'd be like, oh wow, I've never been down this street before. What's down here? But it would be rare. It would be something, it would be an event for me. I'd make a turn and I'd be like, oh, I've never been down here before. What's down here? Because it's unique. But when you know a city like the back of your hand, because you've literally been on almost every street in the entire county, and you can't even think of a place where you haven't been, when you do find a street that you've never been on, it's like an event. It's like wow, this is cool. And yes, you're always, I can't, every single street in a county, that's a tall order. But it's rare. It was rare that I would find myself somewhere I haven't been. as I was driving around or navigating Pittsburgh or getting on a bicycle and going from here to there. Most of the time, someone would say, "Meet me here," and I wouldn't need to have a map or a GPS or anything. I'd know exactly how to get there. And if it's something I didn't know, as soon as I look at it on the map, I'm like, "Oh, I know where that is. It's right next to this other thing," and I could just go there. Rare that I, in the Allegheny County especially, like, it's rare that I didn't know where something was or how to get around. It's that place is more home to me than any place I've ever lived. I'm very comfortable figuring, I don't need a map to live there. And you would get like that. I would get like that with Houston if I did things like DoorDash, because it would force me to just go to this random spot, go to this random restaurant, go to this random spot, come back to this restaurant, go to another random spot, come back, go to this other random restaurant, go there, go there, go there, go there, and you just figure out. I'd be making wrong turns all the time. I would be getting pissed off. I'd be making, Google would give me bad directions. It would all be there. It would all happen. All of it would happen. At the end of the day, though, I would end up coming back with a lot more knowledge of my town and where things are. And, oh, that might be cool to check out. Oh, there's a cool looking restaurant right there. Or, there, oh, that's where that thing is that people were talking about. And all that kind of stuff would happen. And so that's why I want to do the DoorDash. But I said I would stop talking about it, but here I am. But I don't think they're going to approve me. Not when I look at this background check and the way that they worded it and the way that they put it together to make it look absolutely horrible. Because the background check I got back from Target and the background check I got back from Ollie's, it was literally just one little block that said he got convicted of this and this. This one, they turned this and this into 10 fucking literally 10 pages, just page, with like all this crazy information. And I'm like, yeah, gone. But like I said, I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who was door dashing after worse crimes than mine. And has a longer criminal record than mine. It would have been way more than 10 pages long. But he was door dashing and he got approved. But I'm 100% convinced that they're not going to approve mine. If they do, it'll be a wild. Oh, I asked God yesterday on my way home because I saw this email with the background check results while I was at the bakery yesterday, and on my way home I said, "Look, Lord, if you think it's a good idea for me to DoorDash for fitness and get extra money and keep the probation officer off my back because he can see I'm doing more work and just, that I've got 3 things now that it's just another income stream and all that. Like, dear Lord, I'm like, if it's in your will, then if you want me to do this, then you will make them approve me. There's nothing that can stop your will from being done if that's what you want. But if I get back a rejection notice, I'm just going to chalk it up as you don't want me to do it. You got better plans. You got something better for me. You want me to focus on my freelance and not be riding my bike all day wearing myself out for pennies on the dollar. So it would be cool. Something I would like to try. Maybe I try it 2 times and maybe I go do it 3 times and I'm like, this sucks. I'm not doing it. Could happen. I just, I just wanted to try it. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. They say if you get rejected, they'll allow you to appeal and beg and plead to possibly get, to you could possibly get yeah, right. It's just another one of these examples that companies that say we give a convicted, we're willing to give convicted felons a second chance. It means we're not willing to give convicted felons a second chance. What that means is we'll find a convicted felon whose felony was like 20 years ago, and we'll give them a job, and then ta-da, we can say we give felons a second chance because it's marketing bullshit. It's like when a country club lets a black guy join the country club. Now they can say we're an equal opportunity country club, because country clubs are old white men traditionally, right? Till Tiger Woods came. Like, Tiger Woods was the only black guy at the country club the whole time he was on the PGA tour. He just happened to be kicking everybody's ass. They had to let him in. They had to let him in, or that would have been big problems. But these country clubs, they let a black guy join just so that they can dodge the government, and they can basically go out in the community and say, see, we are a diverse group of members here at this country club. We accept members of all races. So maybe they got a black guy, a Chinese guy, a Mexican, and an Asian. Oh, I already got the Asian in there, but some other nationality, an Arab, an Arabian, Middle Eastern person, whatever. And then they can say, we are a diverse country club. We let people of all races join the country club. Yet there's like 150 white members, and there's 5 diversity members that they let in just to check off that box on the marketing package. So, and to get whatever, if there's government oversight or whatever, they just had to check off some boxes to keep people off their back. So they're like, okay, get the token black guy, get the Asian guy, get this Middle Eastern guy, and get that guy from China in here, and we're good. We're good. That way we can say we're diverse. So that's kind of what they do with criminals. A company will hire a couple of ex-cons, give them a job, and then they can go around saying, we give people an equal opportunity chance. We believe that people who made a mistake deserve a second chance. It's like, yeah, because you hired 2. You hired 2, and now you can just go around saying that, but you don't actually have to do that anymore because you hired 2, and that checks off the box. So now you can say that without actually lying about it. And that's what these companies do. I mean, that's what they do. But anyway, I'm not worried about it. I'm just making commentary about this, and I'm going to get going because I got some stuff I want to do today. I want to actually be productive. I've got a low energy drain today because 40 miles on the bike yesterday, followed by 8 hours at the bakery, or 8 hours in the middle of the 40-mile bike ride. I'm tired. It's just the way it is. I feel better than I did a week ago, but usually on these Tuesdays, I'm weak. And tomorrow I'll feel better, Thursday I'll feel better, Friday I'll feel great, and then Saturday we do it all over again. I don't feel like I'm going to be going on 60-mile bicycle rides, but there might be a fairly significant bicycle ride if this guy with the apartment decides to let me move in. Because I'm going to have to go somewhere. I'm going to have to figure out how to get the money to him. It could be as simple as, I even talked about it. I'm like, the quickest way for me to get you the money would be to go to the store and get a money order. So I could go over to the grocery store, get a couple of money orders, because I've got money in 2 different banks. I can't afford to pay what I'd have to pay with one bank account because my funds are too low. But I've got options. And if this guy says that I can do it, I can get him all the money by the 15th of the month, and that's going to leave everything really tight, but I'm going to have more income coming in for the month. We're only at May 6th. By the end of May, I'm going to have more money coming in from multiple sources, and it won't be a ton of money, but the shiny, the bright light at the end of the tunnel is that all of my bills for the month of June will be prepaid. except for my monthly automatic bill payments like web hosting and, just different internet, my freelance bills. The bills I have to pay no matter what. My those all revolve around doing my freelance jobs. Um, if I get next month settled by the 15th of this month, then I can go the whole month. Then I have from the middle of May till the end of June to come up with my next rent payment. And it's only going to be a month's rent. It's not going to be a month's rent plus a security deposit. So, for April, it's going to show on my chart of accounts. It's going to show that I paid a month's rent here. Then I paid a month's rent for the new place. Then I paid a security deposit for the new place. And that's going to be like more than 3 months rent here. But then June's going to show that I didn't pay anything for rent. And so, but that's a lot of money to come up with for the month of April and May, or for the month of May, because I paid on the 1st of May for rent. Then I'm going to pay rent 2 more times and then some for the new apartment. And then, I've got to get a moving truck, but that shouldn't cost a lot. That should actually be pretty cheap. And then from there, the cost of the moving truck, I mean, that should be less than $100 based on the distances involved. Shouldn't be hard at all. And then, I don't know. It's from there, I don't know. There's a couple other expenses. It's just the monthly expenses. I got to get some groceries. I'm going to try and cheap out on groceries and spend half of what I would normally spend. I've got to dick around with all these Amazon purchases for the bicycles and I'm getting over $100 back when I send back the stuff that's getting returned. So I don't know how, there's so many, that's hard to figure out until I get it done. And I'm going to return everything on Saturday. So Saturday I should go to Whole Foods, make these Amazon returns, and I should see the money show right back up within a day or two on my checking account. So that'll be an extra $100. But everything's going to be super tight until the end of May. But then June should be very laid back and easy because everything's already paid for the month. And then I'll have the entire month of June plus the second half of May to cough up the money that I'm going to need to survive in July. And so I'm actually like, when my mind is more at ease when it comes to those numbers than it was on April 3rd when he came at me the way he did. I was in a panic because I didn't think I could move at the end of the month. And I couldn't. I tried. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't make it happen. If I did, it would have been the most stressful. It would have been so freaking stressful. So, but now I'm just going to be in a situation where, now I'm going to be in a better situation. I hope. If the place falls through, I just checked last night. All the places that I've looked at are still available for the picking. Even the ones with the bad internet options. So something's going to shake out. Something's going to shake loose by the end of the month. Even if I have to go back to the first place I looked at and just cave in and say, okay, this will do for now. But I don't want to move into a place where my attitude is, all right, I guess this will do for now. Because look where that got me this time. I walked into this place and I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. But this will do for now. But every place I looked at when I found this tiny house was this will do. There was nothing out there that made me feel like it was a good option. Until Sunday, when I looked at this place 2 days ago. So I'm hoping that he goes for it, and I'm hoping that I might have to drop what I'm doing, go scramble to pick up a couple of money orders at the grocery store and run back to his place and drop them off and sign a paper that says you get to move in on June 1st, as long as you pay the rest of the move-in costs, the first month's rent, and which I plan on doing by the 15th. And then I'll have enough money from my next bakery paycheck to pay for groceries and stuff, and I'll have at least one more freelance invoice out and paid by then. So I'll have enough money to do the move. And then I'll have a little bit extra, but my first month in the new place is going to have to be, live with what you got. Don't buy furniture, don't buy stuff. The only thing I would think about buying possibly would be a portable washing machine from Amazon, which is about $200, but I can have it delivered right to the house and just start doing laundry with that. And possibly one of those little portable dryers. There's a perfect spot to put the stuff. And then I could just do little bits of laundry at different times. Instead of doing laundry once a week, I could just pick a couple of afternoons when I'm working from home and drop in a couple of loads at a time. And I don't know. I'm just speculating, and I'm just kind of sharing the thoughts that are in my head with all of you guys. Just as here's how the story's progressing so far. If I get into this apartment, it's a game changer for me mentally. It will feel so incredible to have a real place to live. Is it going to be the best place I've ever lived? No. Would it even be the best apartment I've ever had? No. But it's a definite, it's a solid place. I would be happy to have company come over and visit. I would be happy to have people come over and spend time in the place. I'd be happy to invite a girl over to hang out and not be embarrassed. Here's my cot that I sleep on and the toilet's 10 feet away. You want me to cook something? I can cook right here, right next to the toilet. We can have a nice meal. I can flip open my laptop here and we can watch some Netflix and chill. Shit's not going to work here. It's not going to work. So, this place that I'm trying to get my hands on, buy a few pieces of furniture, and it's going to be a nice place to live. So anyway, I'm going to let you all go. Peace out.